All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of From Sparks to Skyscrapers. This is episode 13, second episode of the semester, here with Tara from Main Street Nutrition, and now, I guess, Boyertown Nutrition. And is there a third one? Or is that it?
No, just two. Just
Okay,
two right
so
now, but third to come possibly.
B-Town Nutrition and Main Street Nutrition. So smoothies and wellness, like health foods. Is it how do you brand yourself?
I guess a healthy hangout.
Okay.
That's kind of how I describe it, as like a healthy hangout. And our niche though is healthy drinks.
Okay.
So we do have
That's what I know you for, yeah.
healthy drinks, yeah. We actually right now too, especially with the colder weather, is our protein waffles.
Okay.
The protein waffles are doing really, really well, and they're still a meal replacement. But I'd say for years now, like our thing is the smoothies
Yep.
that act as a meal replacement,
Yep.
and our teas.
Wonderful. So, I guess when you were starting out, did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, or how did you fall into it?
No, I did not always know. I actually, well, it's funny because now that I have been an entrepreneur for so long, I feel like I was always meant to become one. Like, so I feel like all paths led down this way.
Yeah.
But I think, well, actually, initially, it's a little bit of a sad story. My dad, back in 2008, was laid off from his job. He had been with the company over 30 years, and that was kind of like that recession time where people... Anyway, so my dad, here I am, a brand new teacher. I used to be a Philadelphia school teacher.
Okay, that's awesome.
So prior to running my own businesses, I was in the classroom every day with little kids. I went to Westchester University, and I graduated with a dual bachelor's in early childhood and elementary. So here I was, young, teaching, living the whole new teacher life, barely making ends meet because teachers don't make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Still living at home with my parents while I had moved back in with them
Yeah.
to, jumpstart this new career here, just through the way of the world. My dad gets laid off, and I was just a young, broke school teacher.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
What am I going to do now?
Yeah, what am I going to do now, really? And then my best friend and I, we started doing these weight loss challenges. In the community, we did Zumba classes, like a dance class, followed by a nutrition lesson.
Okay.
At the Capitolo in South Philadelphia. In every community has like these little buildings. So we knew somebody or met somebody, and we rented a room.
Yeah.
And once a week, we started these dance and wellness classes, and we loved it. And that's kind of what jump-started it for both of us. My best friend and I are still in the business together. She's out in Westchester, but
Awesome.
that was really how we started. We were just young,
Yeah.
and I didn't like what I was. Well, not that I didn't like teaching, but I was in a situation where 1 + 1 wasn't equal to 2.
Yeah,
Like it was,
fulfilling.
yes.
Yeah, it wasn't fulfilling, and you probably felt like you needed to do something else. And when you find that, obviously, you find that passion for like the wellness industry as a whole.
Yes.
And you start thinking, all right, what am I going to do with it? And so I guess I'm kind of curious, what took you from that
to that.
to
So
Main Street Nutrition?
So then, so really that. So then I was a school teacher, loved teaching, but then my dad lost his job. I was a young teacher, so I wasn't making much. So I was like, oh my God, I didn't know how to like make this a career where I could be on my own. And then right at that same time, my girlfriend and I started this thing. We stumbled upon this idea of working out and health classes, like nutrition lessons, which then led us to having like a cafe or like a hub where people could come to get healthy.
Yeah.
That's what launched into the healthy drinks. So we had the workouts, we had the nutrition lessons, and then we did the healthy drinks. And then we really fell in love with the healthy drink model where we could have like these cafes. People could come in and out on their way to work or to and from class.
Yeah.
Or they could hang out. They could pop open their MacBooks, their computers. They can bring their kids. You know, they didn't have to be in and out if they didn't want to.
Like recreating that space for
Yes.
it. Yeah.
So you could hang if you want, but then it could also be kind of like a healthy fast food.
Yeah.
So like providing an opportunity for people to have a place to go.
In the community.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you're trying to start something like that up, there are difficulties, especially in a place like Collegeville, where it's a smaller community, you know, trying to get your brand and your name out there, a strong clientele that like trusts you and trusts what you're doing. Do you remember anything that you did as you were just getting started to kind of like assert yourself in Collegeville as like prominent and to keep growing from there, or was it just kind of natural, the progression of it?
No, I did. It was not natural. I did well. I mean, I guess I do think through longevity. So I think the longer you're around,
Yeah, for
people
sure.
will naturally. But no. So here I was. I mid to late 20s in Collegeville. My now husband, at the time we were just dating, we were like, let's take this concept. So it was my best friend and I who really started the whole idea ourselves. That was back in my hometown, Drexel Hill, down in Delaware County. But we wanted to branch out. And we chose Collegeville because it had on paper what we were looking for. It was near a park. It was near the Perkiomen Trail. A suburb, but accessible to things. So it kind of like looked on paper what we were interested in. But other than that, it was a complete cold market. We didn't know anybody. And because
That's wild.
we didn't know a single soul in town. And because I'm just coming from the teaching world and I didn't really have a lot of money and we just had more of like a hope and a dream, my husband and I just hit the streets and we just would go from business to business and introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Tara. I just opened up a new smoothie shop. Come on in. We do coffees, teas, smoothies. And I just went from business to business, day
Door
after
to door,
day,
yeah.
month after month, and just introduce myself. I would bring tea samples to people, set up like maybe like a little breakfast and make shakes sometimes, anything to kind of spread the word.
Right.
But I didn't have money to like just advertise. So I had to do it like old school,
Yeah.
like hit the streets.
Yeah.
So really like in the beginning days, I felt like it was just slow and steady or a lot of just taking time for the brand awareness.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating to hear about. And like it's different for everybody, the way that they go about it. And I think probably, like I said, in an environment like this in a smaller town, like it's the way that you went about it makes sense to me, going door to door, trying to kind of get
Connections.
connections.
Yes, like
and-
build relationships.
actual real personal connections and that notoriety. But as you expanded, now you mentioned this new location in Boyertown. Like, when did you know, okay, now I it's time for me to expand? You mentioned this past summer was a big summer for you in an email to me.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So we got to Collegeville. So we're just hitting Main Street Nutrition, just hit 11 years.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy that my baby is 11.
Yeah.
Because like I remember the day I
Congrats.
got the thanks. I remember the day I got the keys. So it's wild that it's 11.
Yeah.
But I'd say about 4 to 5 years in, I always knew, even day one, I wanted more than just that one. Like I was like, I have dreams of like healthy communities everywhere. But 4 or 5 years in, I was really looking for a second location because we had built some momentum here and I wanted to just expand, like to hit other neighborhoods, like from where people were coming from. But at that time, I only knew Limerick, Royersford, and Phoenixville.
Right.
But I couldn't find exactly what I wanted, and this was right before COVID. So I didn't find exactly what I wanted, and since it was a second spot and kind of just like a want, not a need, I was very specific. I didn't want to just spend, again, like my time and money if it wasn't like what I wanted.
Right.
And then COVID went from 2 weeks to 2 years, so that shut the world down, which actually was all meant to be because at that time, I didn't even know Boyertown, or I wasn't even aware of that presence. And through different things that I was doing in the community through outreach, and then we did a lot with the essential workers. So I'd say for 2 years, honestly, I just paid attention to where all my people were coming from. And I just really fell in love with my community and getting to know people and being there for the good days and the bad days. And Gilbertsville and Boyertown kept popping up. And then in the end of 2022, I just knew that the world was starting to move again. And, the whole new year things. And I was like, it's the new year. This is it. Second location. It's happening. And I just hit the streets again. And I just started driving neighborhoods. And as soon as I got to Boyertown, I was like, this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's how we found out, like that's the long and short of how we got to Boyertown. But right at the same time as we found that location and signed papers for that spot, the location right next to Main Street Nutrition became available.
Okay.
And we've had dreams of always turning that into a gym, like a little fitness studio.
Cool. So you guys are doing that now.
Yes. So now we have
Interesting.
3 shops.
I actually
So
didn't know that.
yeah. But that's how like life works.
Yeah.
So ever since day one at Main Street Nutrition, we have the shop right next to us is like the mirror image on both sides.
Yeah.
So we have wanted, well, back in the day, we used to say, let's knock the walls down, make one big place. Then over the years, because we used to do a lot of things called fit camps, group workouts, because we have the park. We actually used to run up to our sinus here.
Awesome.
I love this campus. This campus has always been a part of like our history. So right as we signed papers for Boyertown, 2 weeks later, that location becomes available. And we knew if we didn't hop on it then, we might not ever have it again. So that actually opened right at the same time as B-Town Nutrition. So we have 2 new babies under our belt. That is just strictly fitness. That is where you could go for a group workout, a one-on-one, open gym, just a place like, again, like a mom and pop, come work on your goals, make friends.
That's awesome.
Type of place.
Yeah. So do you think, throughout all of these different experiences, starting it 11 years ago and then building the brand and then moving through COVID and now starting all of these new offshoots projects, what do you think the biggest challenge that you faced in your career is, if you had to name one, and how did you overcome it?
The biggest challenge. There's just one. No, everything is a challenge.
There's so many, right?
Yeah, everything is. Well, I guess the biggest challenge. Well, there's a few challenges. There could be a lot. It doesn't have to be just one. There could be a lot of challenges, but the biggest is your mindset as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. You have to be all in. So you have to love what you're doing.
I love that
answer. If you don't love it, it's gonna eat you alive.
It's gonna burn out.
Yeah, you're gonna burn out. It's gonna eat you alive. So you absolutely. So even if I didn't make a penny on what I do, I'd still show up every day.
Yep.
So you have to love it.
That's awesome.
You have to love it on the good days and the bad days. You have to be consistent. But I'd say the biggest obstacle is the money component.
Yeah.
Is knowing what to spend, when to spend it, and like how. You know what I mean? So just because money is good 1 week or 1 month doesn't mean that money is going to be. So really understanding that.
How to budget, all these
like
things.
all those things, you know what I mean? And then not doing what everybody else is doing. It's very easy to get caught up in looking left and right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Comparing. So really just kind of being inspired by others, but not constantly comparing or trying to keep up with the Joneses. You know what I mean? So being able to what am I responsible for? What do I have to pay out every month? So what do I have to bring in? What are good things? Certain types of advertising will work with one type of business, but not with another.
Yeah.
So kind of finding your own niche or market or that is probably the biggest obstacle is understanding how to do all that.
Right. Well, the reason why I like that answer so much is because a lot of people will sit in your seat and they'll name one thing that they went through as their biggest challenge and what they learned from it. And that's great. And I'm sure a lot of people did learn from that. But the reason why I like that answer is because it's a that's an everyday challenge
every day
of being able having the right mindset and also having staying savvy, knowing when to jump on the right opportunity.
And for example, so since we technically now have 3 shops under our belt, we treat each shop individually. So they each have its own account or individuality.
Yeah.
So what we can do at Main Street Nutrition, I can't necessarily do yet at B-Town Nutrition. Do you know what I mean? B-Town Nutrition is so new, and how I am hitting the streets of marketing is a little bit different than what we're doing in MSN, because MSN has it's been around longer. It has a little bit more, build up in its piggy bank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the clientele already exists.
Exactly. So, so just knowing all that, do you know what I mean? Being able to be very real. But honestly, loving what you do, you have to be all in every day.
And that's a challenge sometimes. It can be a challenge. And staying in love with what you do, even when it gets difficult.
Yes. But good days and bad. Yeah. No. Because again, too, I feel people can feel that too. Your business is more than just your product. It's the energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I agree. So you mentioned like not keeping up with the Joneses, not, looking left and right and comparing yourself to other people, especially in an industry like health and wellness where, there are so many competitors. What do you, for a couple, like two-pronged question here.
Okay.
When you're starting in the health and wellness industry, is there something that you can do or point to that like different, that makes people trust you? Like everyone's trying to sell you something that's better for you, and who am I to trust if I'm coming to Main Street Nutrition and you say, here are these, meal replacement smoothies.
Yeah.
Why should I trust you?
Trust you over somebody else.
Right.
Totally. Because, when we first started 11 years ago, there was not as much competition or competitors.
Yeah.
Now, especially, which is great in a way, over 10, 11 years, the awareness of health and nutrition has grown so much.
Yeah.
So in some aspects, it's wonderful because there's so many, and then especially going through a time like COVID where it's like, like, oh my gosh, like I need to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And what am I putting into my body? And am I getting what I need? So I think it's great that there's so much awareness out. But I would say that the number one thing for me was always authenticity. So being real with people. So just being myself. This is who I am. This is who we are as an establishment. This is what we're about. And then honestly, never comparing ourselves to others or putting others down.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, unfortunately, over the years, a lot of people, I feel like that dog eat dog mentality where people will put others down to kind of rise above.
Yeah.
So one thing that I just always swore to myself that I would never do was put others down to make us sound better. So we're going to be better, or not better, but we're going to stand on our own 2 feet because of who we are, what we do, the products that we serve, but then what people can always count on. But I would never be able to feel good about ourselves or so that's always been so over the years, because there has been so many people who have come and gone or not putting others down to rise above. So just always that, and then being authentic. So just being real. I think people really enjoy just.
Yes. People can tell when you're lying to them, or when you're trying to sell them something. And if you're, it's very, when you're being genuine, people can also pick up on that.
I learned those lessons just throughout different other things. So sometimes it's not always the fastest route, but it's
the best route.
Yes. Yeah.
So you mentioned the busyness just then.
Yeah.
That's a great segue. As you become busier, what are some strategies that you utilize to manage that workload and your mental health?
Well, people do ask oh my gosh, how do you do it all? But I honestly feel like being alive in your life. So I really I love what I'm doing. So again, the things that I have right now. So from the outside looking in, it might seem busy. And it is, but it's a good busy.
Yeah.
There's 24 hours in a day. There's 24 hours in a day. I use all, there's 24 hours in a day. They say you should sleep 8 of them, so I get 7 to 8.
Yeah.
I used to, for many years, only sleep 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
And I could do that for years, but as I'm getting older, that 7 to 8 hour window, that goes a long way.
I'm 21 and
you love it.
When I get less than 8 hours, I'm a mess.
You're a mess. Yeah. Well, it's true because your body's like a battery, so it needs to be charged.
Yeah.
Good sleep. So I put myself on a schedule because I've never been one to require a lot of sleep, but I do understand the importance of it. So I did put myself on a schedule. So I do get a 7 to 8 a night. Eating well. So eating well. Enjoying what you do, having a balance. So when you're working, be working and really give it your all.
And then put it away.
As best as you can. And then when you're with your family or when you're doing this, then you're with your family and when you're with your kids. So letting it sounds so easy, but
compartmentalizing,
or being on top of your schedule. So I am running my schedule, it's not running me. So if there's 24 hours in the day, so when am I sleeping, when do I wake up, you can get so much more done if you have the approach that it's for you, not against you. And just the simple old things, being prepared the night before. So at the night before, Do I have my outfit ready?
Reading the podcast questions.
Yeah, reading the podcast questions. Do I have my outfit ready? Am I going to be on the road all day? Do I need to bring food with me? You know what I mean? Like, so kind of like just like those old little things that your mom used to tell you, like they work. They work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And so, what do you see? Or actually, let me go with this first. I only have a couple more.
Okay, yeah, sure.
You mentioned all those different strategies. What advice then would you give to a young person who's graduating college and might not know what they want to do at all yet? This is a very loaded question.
It is a little. Follow your gut. Okay. Follow your gut always. I do everything by my gut. I feel like, especially that the younger you are, you feel so pressured.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Yes, by just the world,
society,
your parents, your peers. So I feel like you want to perform according to what you feel like others want.
Or what you think you should be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that can kind of just like set you up for like disappointment.
Yeah.
So like follow your gut. That will like guide you.
Yeah.
And it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to, as long as you do it respectfully. Yeah. So like if you have a job and you know a month in that this isn't for you, you're going to be wasting that company's time and your time. You know, so if you're respectful and you're like, you know, I'm so sorry, this isn't for me. Like you give your you have to follow your gut, because if not, it's going to lower your vibration.
Yeah.
I guess that's like the best.
It'll eat you alive.
Yes. And, you know, and then you're not going to want to wake up. You're not going to want to be there. You're not going to have that productivity. You're not going to have that zest.
Yeah.
So like you really just kind of have to navigate through life as a young adult and you want to make smart decisions. So it's not like you're just blowing things off unwisely, but doing it in a responsible way, because you only get one life. Like they say, like, you know, you only get one life.
But it's true.
It's so cliche, and that's true. Like, are you alive in your life? A lot of people are just coasting.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, how do you have all the energy? And I'm like, well, I love it, you know. And again, like, I used to be a school teacher, and I thought I went to college and spent a lot of money. I still have student loans.
Yeah.
I went to college, and I thought I was going to be a teacher, and I loved it, but I didn't love it enough that it was my forever. Yeah. And I knew that like 3 years in, so I had to make a change, because I knew that profession wasn't going to change. So I had to make a change.
Yeah.
You know, and if it wasn't for my dad getting laid off, and who knows, like I did like teaching, but like everything, like, you know, everything led to another, and I just followed the steps rather than just
kind of you went with the flow.
Yeah. And then just like what felt, you know, but a lot of people, they'll do what others want initially. Yeah. Or they'll stay because they feel like they have to, and it just follow your gut. Yes, no, and it's like you have to follow your gut, and sometimes you're putting in extra work to, you know, so sometimes you have to take a few steps back to take a few steps forward, but in the long run, it is so worth it. Like life is so precious.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. So my last one for you then is, you know, as you continue to build this brand, these 2 brands now.
I want more. So, but where am I going next?
So what's the plan for the future?
Okay.
What are your goals? I'm curious to hear.
So I would love healthy smoothie shops in every town and community. I really see a need for, because they're more like a hub, like a hangout.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are coming in for a quick meal or a healthy, you know, tea or coffee for energy focus. Easy things to help like them nutritionally throughout the day, but they make friends. It's a community. People, you know, they're there, like we actually have people who've gotten married from me to get Main Street Nutrition. We've had people become friends, like, you know, little babies who have grown up together. Like,
that's the best feeling as a business owner.
I know, and it makes me so excited. So I want to keep putting them in neighborhoods. So I want to keep growing that. Yeah. I'd actually love to open, this is like big dream. Within the next 5 years-ish, I'd really love to open a bed and breakfast.
I've always, idea.
I know, I want to have like a little, I don't know how big, it doesn't have to be that big, but a place where people want a vacation and they choose our place. And they, you know, go there for one night, a few nights, bring family. We could also have our healthy teas through the kitchen, because you know how you can bake through like them. Yeah. My mom loves to bake. We just lost my dad actually recently. It's okay, thanks. Actually, my dad passed away on the opening of B-Town Nutrition. Oh. So the day that I was supposed to open, which was a wild turn of events.
That's a challenge.
Yeah. Yes. So we just lost my dad. Christmas Eve will be 3 months ago. So trying to keep his memory alive and just pushing through the bad days and creating more healthy communities. So I want to keep opening smoothie shops, but we do have a big dream of bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just have to stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned and
Keep following your gut.
keep following your gut.
All
and
you young kids.
enjoying every day, right?
Yeah, because I'm in my 40s now, so they say, when you're like, so,
Yes.
you're in a, how old are you?
21.
21. Okay, so there's the 20s and the 30s, and then there's, yeah.
So you're still doing great. So
Thank
you're
you,
still
Joe. Thanks.
doing amazing. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for making the trip. Yeah, it was awesome. So thank you everybody for watching this episode of Barca Skyscrapers. We will be back next semester, and I know I said we were doing 3 this semester. We only did 2 this semester, so we'll do 3 next semester, and then I graduate and I'll be passing the podcast off to somebody else to be determined. Right? Yeah, I can have, a highlight tape or something. So my next semester will be my last. But thank you once again for listening, watching, viewing. Hit the like, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Thank you again. We'll see you next time.